Hello and welcome to Vatican Connections. I'm Emily Callan. We have a special guest on the show this week. I got to sit down with the head of the Vatican Office for the Doctrine of the Faith, Cardinal Gerhard Müller. We'll also look at some highlights from the Holy Father's pilgrimage to Fatima last weekend, but first here are a few headlines from this past week. Once again, Pope Francis welcomed 6 new ambassadors to the Holy See in a formal ceremony. On Thursday, ambassadors from Kazakhstan, Mauritania, Nepal, Niger, Sudan, and Trinidad and Tobago met the Pope in Clementine Hall. They presented him with their credentials and he addressed them. In his speech, he urged them to pursue the path of peace and the common good. He also mentioned the economic disparity in the world, conflicts and abuse of religion, and extended his best wishes and his constant support through the various offices of the Roman Curia. Professional Italian soccer players from the Lazio and Juventus teams were at the Vatican on Tuesday. The Pope welcomed them in Clementine Hall on the eve of their final match for the Italian Cup. Their coaches and managers were also there, and to the 180 athletes he spoke about being witnesses to the authentic values of sport. He insisted that as athletes, they also have an important role to play in the lives of young people who consider them champions. Every match is a test of balance, self-mastery, and respect for the rules, he said. The one, he continued, who by their behavior know how to give an example of all this become an example of loyalty, honesty, harmony, and humanity. The Pope concluded by thanking them for their visit and wishing them good luck for their last game. On Wednesday, Juventus defeated Lazio 2-0 and won the Coppa Italia for the 12th time. Last Sunday, Emmanuel Macron officially became President of France. On the occasion of his investiture, Pope Francis congratulated him through a telegram saying, "I pray that God support you so that your country, faithful to the rich diversity of its moral traditions and its spiritual heritage, marked also by the Christian tradition, may always endeavor to build a more just and fraternal society." The Holy Father also mentioned the need for solidarity between nations, made possible through the respect of differences and attention to the most vulnerable. He invited France to search for peace and the common good and have respect for all human life. The official logo for the next World Youth Day was released also on Sunday. It was created by a young woman, Ambar Calvo. She is 20 years old and a student in architecture. Her drawing was chosen from over 100 submissions. The dominating colors are blue and red, illustrating the Virgin Mary, the Canal of Panama, and the Pilgrim's Cross. The artist said she wanted to show the tenderness and surrender of Mary in her most beautiful scene when she gave her fiat. The Archbishop of Panama commented on the logo. "It expresses the message we wish to give to young people in the world," he said. "The littleness of our country, but the greatness of our heart." The next World Youth Day is taking place in January 2019 on the theme of "I am the servant of the Lord, let it be done to me according to his will." Did you know? The Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith is one of 9 congregations in the Roman Curia. It is also the oldest. It was created in 1542 by Pope Paul III, and it was first known as the Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Roman and Universal Inquisition. In other news, in Pope Paul VI Hall at the Vatican on Thursday, Pope Francis received 150 people suffering from Huntington's disease, a degenerative disorder which affects the brain. Huntington's sufferers were accompanied by family members and caregivers. 5 to 10 people out of 100 in the world are affected by the disorder, which has no cure. Many are from South America, where the disease is more widespread. Present as well were experts and researchers. They were in Rome attending a meeting launching a campaign called Hidden No More to raise awareness and end the stigma surrounding Huntington's disease. The Holy Father addressed the crowd, and he became the first world leader to recognize the significance of the genetic disorder. Here's a clip from his speech from Catholic News Service.
Per troppo tempo le paure e le difficoltà che hanno caratterizzato la vita delle persone affette da Huntington hanno creato intorno a loro fraintendimenti, barriere, vere e proprie emarginazioni. In molti casi gli ammalati e le loro famiglie hanno vissuto il dramma della vergogna, dell'isolamento, dell'abbandono. Oggi però siamo qui perché vogliamo dire a noi stessi e a tutto il mondo Cardinal Müller. Non si tratta semplicemente di uno slogan, bensì di un impegno che ci deve vedere tutti protagonisti. La forza e la convinzione con cui pronunciamo queste parole derivano proprio da quanto Gesù stesso ci ha insegnato. Durante il suo ministero, egli ha incontrati tanti ammalati, si è fatto carico delle loro sofferenze, ha abbattuto i muri dello stigma e della emarginazione che impedivano a tanti di loro di sentirsi rispettati e amati. Per Gesù la malattia non è mai stata ostacolo per incontrare l'uomo, anzi il contrario. Egli ci ha insegnato che la persona umana è sempre preziosa, sempre dotata di una dignità che niente e nessuno può cancellare, nemmeno la malattia.
This week, Cardinal Gerhard Müller was in Toronto, Canada. He is the prefect for the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, a congregation responsible for promoting and protecting the faith and Catholic moral teaching. He was invited by the Canadian Catholic Bioethics Institute to speak on freedom of conscience in the context of faith. This next feature interview focused on how the congregation is supporting Catholics worldwide in exercising that right in the public sphere. Your Eminence, can you tell us what's new with the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith? What are the main priorities right now?
Ja, mein Target is to help the Holy Father in his magistery. We are as Catholic convinced that Jesus Christ gave this big mission to St. Peter and his successor, and also in the communion with all the bishops, episcopate of the world, but it's very clear that the Holy Father cannot do all this work, all the preparation in his own person, and therefore since long time, 500 years, exists this congregation for all the responsibilities of the Pope in the magistery and the discipline of the Church and the importance of the sanctity of the sacraments, and therefore we are supporting the Holy Father. We are 25 cardinals, but although we have the staff of our officials, experts in theology and canon law, all this is guided by the Prefect, and the Prefect has a responsibility for the work of the congregation for the Holy Father.
Right. Now, you're in Canada this week to speak on conscience rights and more specifically with regards to euthanasia and physician-assisted death. You were invited by the Canadian Catholic Bioethics Institute. Now, this is something which concerns not only Canadians, but many countries around the world, especially Western countries. So how is the congregation helping them deal with this issue?
We are one mankind and one family. That's our belief, in spite of the different religions or the philosophical or sometimes ideological orientations. But very important is the solidarity. And we are convinced this is the basis, the natural human rights. The basic right is the right for the life. And the other people have the responsibility. We are not atomic society. Everybody is only responsible for himself, but we have a common responsibility, and therefore we must speak about this moral challenges
Yes.
in the modern medicine, which are possible, and the questions of suicide, very old questions. But the euthanasia had happened also in some ideological totalitarian states with a philosophy of the racism and the restriction of the human importance. Only if anybody could do anything, is only his economic importance. But we say the dignity of man has no conditions, under all conditions of our life. We have this basic dignity, and therefore we underline as Catholics this responsibility for all.
Right. Why does this fight for the right to exercise our conscience in the public sphere seem to be more of a battle in Western countries?
We have this ideology that the state is the owner of the lives and of the bodies and souls, where much people don't believe in God. They are thinking the state is the highest institution, and we are all rejecting the totalitarian states in the communism and other ideologies. But we must be aware that our old democracies in Canada, in the United States, and in the other Western Europe are not changing in a certain totalitarian system where it exists only one thinking. We are pluralistic states and society, and everybody has the right for his own conscience according to his belief. And this is a little bit the risk that some parts are speaking about the tolerance only for their ideas, but we need a mutual tolerance. And the reality is that we as Catholics are demanded to accept other interpretations of the world, but our understanding is not so accepted, and we have some persecutions of those who confess themselves Catholics in the universities, in the public sphere, and in the mass media. It cannot be that in a democracy one must defend himself or to apologize himself because he is Catholic. That cannot be. That is against the human dignity, and is against the democratic constitution of our modern states.
One final question. What do you recommend Catholics do to be more engaged in this issue and to understand why this is important for them to take this on?
As a Catholic people, they don't have fear to confess their faith and to be the promoters of the common human rights. As the popes in the last century were the most important promoters of the common human rights, and we have no reason for a Catholic complex of inferiority. And some enemies of the Catholic Church, they want to impose us these complexes of the inferiority, saying we are belonging to the Middle Ages and all these stupid things or polemic formulas. We have the social doctrine of the Catholic Church, is the most important link between all the nations. We have our doctrine about the peace of nations, collaboration of everybody. All the encyclicals of the popes are directed to the Catholic, surely, but also to everybody of goodwill. And if you look to Pope Francis, he has the highest moral reputation among all the world leaders. He is a voice of the Catholic Church, but he is speaking for the dignity of everybody. He says, underlines all the times, in spite of all these differences, we are the children of the Heavenly Father, of our Creator. Not everybody in the religions understand God as Father, but everybody can understand that we are not the creators of ourselves. We have received our life from a power above.
Thank you very much, Your Eminence. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Fatima was bursting with pilgrims last weekend. Thousands took part in events surrounding the 100th anniversary of the apparitions of Our Lady to 3 shepherd children, Jacinta and Francisco Marto and Lucia. When the Pope arrived in Fatima, the first thing he did was greet Mary with flowers at the Chapel of Apparitions, a tradition upheld by all the popes who have gone before him. There he remained in silence and then led the crowd in a prayer. In the evening, he presided the recitation of the Rosary after blessing candles, which were used for the traditional candlelit procession done every year for the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima. The joyful mysteries were recited in several languages, and Pope Francis delivered a reflection. CNS has more.
Dou graças a Deus Pai, que em todo tempo e lugar atua na história humana. Peregrino da paz, que neste lugar anuncias, louvo a Cristo, nossa paz, e para o mundo peço a concórdia entre todos os povos. Peregrino da esperança, que o Espírito alenta. Peregrinos con María. ¿Cuál María? Una mestra de vida espiritual. A primeira que seguiu Cristo pelo caminho estreito da cruz, dando-nos o exemplo, ou então uma senhora inatingível e consequentemente inevitável, a bendita por ter acreditado sempre em todas as circunstâncias nas palavras divinas, ou então uma santinha a quem se recorre para obter favores a baixo preço.
The second major part of his visit was the canonization Mass on Saturday, the feast of the first apparition of Our Lady of Fatima. Here, the Church gained 2 new saints, Francisco and Jacinta Marto, the youngest non-martyred saints. During the celebration, the Pope gave the homily, and his main message was one of faithfulness to God, leading a life which brings peace in the world. Here are some of his words from CNS.
Nos congregamos aqui para agradecer as bênçãos sem conta que o céu concedeu nestes 100 anos passados sob o referido manto da luz que Nossa Senhora, a partir deste esperançoso Portugal, estendeu sobre os 4 cantos da terra. Como exemplo, temos diante los olhos San Francisco Marto e Santa Jacinta, a quem a Virgem Maria introduziu no mar imenso da luz de Deus e aí os levou a adorá-lo. Daqui lhes vinha a força para superar contrariedades e sofrimentos. A presença divina tornou-se constante nas suas vidas, como se manifesta claramente na súplica instante pelos pecadores e no desejo permanente de estar junto a Jesús escondido no sagrario.
Returning to Rome, he carried out his customary in-flight press conference. He covered a number of topics, including his pilgrimage in Fatima, his upcoming meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump, dialogue with Christian churches, the protection of minors, and clericalism. So the discussion was wide-ranging. Here's an overview of his answers. First, on his trip back, the Pope said, "Fatima certainly has a message of peace. I came as a pilgrim, and for me, it was a very great joy. What can the world expect? Peace, a hope of peace for all." Along that theme, he was asked about his imminent meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. The Holy Father said that both will express their ideas, and only then will it be possible to have a clear idea of who the man is. He explained, "I never pass a judgment on a person without listening to them. In our talks, things will come out. I will say what I think, he will say what he thinks. But there are always doors that are not closed," he continued. On dialogue with evangelical churches, the Pope said it is significant for ecumenism, walking together with prayer, with martyrdom, and with works of charity, with works of mercy. And there, Lutheran Caritas and Catholic Caritas have made an agreement to work together. This is a great step, but there are always steps to take. You know that God is the God of surprises. The Holy Father also clarified his point of view regarding Medjugorje. "I prefer the Virgin as a mother, our mother, and not a woman who's the head of a telegraphic office, who sends a message every day at a certain time. This is not the mother of Jesus, and these presumed apparitions do not have much value. This I say as a personal opinion, but it is clear." One journalist asked about Mary Collins, former member of the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, and about her accusations. "I spoke to her," he responded, "and she continues to work in the formation of priests on this point. She is a good woman who wants to work. She made this accusation, and she is partly correct. Why? Because there are so many delayed cases which accumulate." At the end, Pope Francis responded to a question about faith and secularism, saying, "Certainly it worries me. That's why I tell priests, you will have read this, flee from clericalism. It is a plague in the Church." How are Marian apparitions approved by the Church? In 1978, Pope Paul VI approved a document describing the process for discerning the legitimacy of an apparition or revelation. This document was drafted by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith at that time. It can take a long time before any decision is made on the authenticity of an event, but it all starts with the local bishop. He creates a commission of experts to study the moral seriousness of the revelations, if they are free from theological and doctrinal error, what are the personal qualities of the seer, and if there is spiritual fruit. After that, if more help is needed, it goes to the Episcopal Conference of that country, and that's not enough, it goes to the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. And the Pope makes the final decision based on the recommendations he received. But even when the Catholic Church says that a private revelation is worthy of belief, it only means that it's okay for the faithful to adhere to the messages, but not a requirement. And that's all for our show this week. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send them via Vatican Connections Twitter page at Vatican Connections. I'll be happy to answer them on our next episode. And if you are new to the show or a returning viewer, we at Salt and Light value your feedback on the content we produce. If you would like to tell us how we are doing, please visit saltandlighttv.org/VC survey to send us your comments directly to our programming team. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next week on a new episode of Vatican Connections.